Okay, we are live. Hey everyone, a very warm welcome. Good evening to folks who are listening to us in India time zone, and good morning if you are on the US coast. Great to have you back again for the episode 4 of AI in Action by Zvolv. I'm Prashant, your host, and we are again back discussing the interesting aspect of how the whole AI transformation is being seen by the leaders who are implementing it hands on the ground. Obviously, the conversation has been the digital transformation that we've seen over a period of last few decades. It's been kind of completely accelerated with the whole injection of AI, and people have been talking about how quick the value realization has been, how effective it is on the costs, how dynamic it is to adopt, how easy it is to roll out, and obviously integrate in the existing systems, making it the big daddy of the revolution that we've seen in the whole AI transformation era. Today, we are honored by our esteemed guest, Ishwar, fondly known as a CFO veteran in finances. He's had a long, great career with HomeLane. Earlier, he was with Pearson and a few other corporate leadership roles in finance. So, needless to say, he's somebody who brings in hands-on execution, who rose through the ranks of finance execution and complex processes, right? So, very warm welcome, Ishwar. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Prashant. Nice meeting you, and I'm happy to part of this discussion today. And good evening to all, and good morning to all the people who are in the different time zones.
Thanks. Great to have you. So, just a quick a question before we get into more intense conversation. I know finance is a topic which is very heavy on terminologies and complexities in itself. But given I think obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we have seen digital transformation, right, in various phases of the whole digitization period in itself. How would you describe the current way of AI transformation in a word?
It's a metamorphical change.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. I think that's a great way to look at it. I think it's a change which has been never seen before, and also a change which has been most easy to adopt. So let me start with a quick opening question to you on finance in itself. Obviously, see, we have seen digitization in finance in various bits and pieces. What do you think is the one which looks to be the most exciting period in finance as a vertical across the function for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thanks. If you look at the finance, let's take a step back and look at how the finance has been evolved over a period of time. Right. It's important for us to understand how the evolution happened in say in last 20, 30, 40 years. 40 years back, the entire finance is nothing but a bookkeeping, right? You have to write in the hand with the ruled notebooks, write it and keep it. The biggest achievement of the any finance, those days it's not called as a finance, it's called accountants. The biggest achievement of an accountant is that if you are able to tally your trial balance, right? If you are able to tally your trial balance, that you are the great accountant at the point in time, right? Because the trial balance never used to tally, right? Then slowly, spreadsheets emerged. People used to keep accounting. The first metamorphical change, I am using exactly the same word. People started using technology for a bookkeeping is that, and what revolutionized is the tally system. I remember I started using tally 3.5 way back in 1996 or 97. I was
The
a
earliest times of digitization, so called in finance.
right. So that time, if you know how to make an if you know how to make an entry into a tally or a that time some quick book, something like that, if you are able to make that entry, that's a great thing. You are the greatest person in the finance function or accounting function that at that point in time. Then we have seen the significant evolution in the accounting software, and the role of a finance team has been changed just from a bookkeeper to a finance manager to a finance controller to a, today we call it as a chief financial officers, right? So the difference between the finance controller versus a CFO is that the finance controller focuses on the finance operations, etc. But CFO role is finance is like a 30% of the job. For 70% of the job is working with the business. How do you help make the business grow? So this function tool evolved, the function evolved, right? I see this AI is going to change the way we look at it, the finance functions in a completely different prism. That's what my thought process is. We can talk about in the course of this, discussion, how that might change the role of the people in the finance functions. But that's how I see it.
So this, I think you touched upon a very interesting aspect that finance automation started with the nuances of just the compliances, right, which were like digital consolidation and reporting aspect of it right now. So now I think that era is already over. Now the agents are definitely kind of enhancing the skills of the finance and the whole accounting professionals. By adopting this technology, they are able to kind of get into a faster mode of more predictive and more accuracy driven engagements, right? So what are the processes that you would see are getting disrupted, which are fastest to do? Like, let's say there was a challenge to do that with the earlier digitization, but the agents might do that and accelerate that way ahead of everything else.
Yeah, sure. I think the potential for AI in the finance function is immense, right? The way I think, maybe you need two or three people in a large organization in the finance functions. Rest everything will AI do. The days are not far away, right? It might happen next year, or it might happen in next month. So it has a huge potential to change. Uh, the difference between so far the adoption on the digitization or digitalization, or you call it as a digital transformation, happened so far is like a very very linear way of change happened. But AI is going to disrupt you, saying that before even you realize what the change is happening in the AI world would have changed. By the time you realize, it would have been already changed everything. The speed at which it's going to disrupt the whole function is phenomenal. So it also comes with the question of that, how do you adapt and where do you start? It's the biggest question today for all CFOs, including me. Everyone is talking about AI. Boss, it's fine. Where do I start? What is my starting point? That is the key for any finance head or a CFOs to figure it out. Where do I start and how do I progress? We need to address that question first
Very
before even
interesting. So I think
talking
the
about.
challenge would be, sorry to cut you, please continue.
Sure, sure, good, good.
Yeah, so I was thinking that the one of the biggest challenges would be prioritization, saying where do you put the AI flavor in which process and how. But the most interesting thing could be because the adoption of AI is happening at a very rapid pace. You can also evolve very quickly, right?
Yeah,
Unlike the earlier decades where the value realization itself possibly was a multi-quarter affair, right? Like you get a new system or a tool, you have to put it in your system, that people get trained, the implementation, and then it gets kind of smoothened out. Well, possibly it would take multiple quarters. How do you see it from the value realization point of view, and would that help people to kind of move faster on multiple aspects rather than just picking one?
yeah, sure. So the value realization will be much faster than the earlier scenarios. But while I say that, there are significant challenges you need to overcome before you start realizing that value. I'll tell you why. Uh, if it is AI as a standalone tool, and you are going to put that as a standalone tool, it's pretty fast. You can get it done. I just to give you an example. Yesterday, I was chatting with my VP Finance. Exactly, we are having the discussion and saying that actually I am pushing him, saying that, boss, you figure it out. What are the AI tools you want to implement in your business analytics function? His initial reaction is that, Ishwar, I don't think AI will come and replace that function that quickly. My response to him is that, boss, the way I see is that your business analytics function is the one first will get disrupted. The reason being, today your BA team using some tools, including Excel sheet or some other BA tools, they are extracting the information using their knowledge. They are cutting the data, slicing, dicing the data into multiple parts, and coming up with some insights based on their knowledge. Their insights also bit limited to their knowledge and their experience. But think of it, an AI tool. can extract the data easily. Because extraction tools are already available. You are already extracting from your core ERP system. It's sitting in some database, etc. And the AI, given that model training, etc., and the vast knowledge it's gathered, that will outsmart any other business analyst in the world in no in a fraction of time. Forget about days, etc. All those things. That's how the disruption is going to be. Uh, if you ask me as a CFO, where do you focus implementing your AI into finance functions? I would rather put the AI function first in the business analytics, where you do a analysis using the existing data which is already available in your system or in your organization.
Yeah, well said. I think so. That would, obviously the AI tool would have a far more accuracy and speed of execution, right? The more scale of your operation is higher, right? It would have a disproportionate effect. Obviously, it's going to cost much lesser, and I think the results will be far more accurate and early available to you, right? Like I think it's going to be very speedy. How do you see this whole predictive analysis, right? I think you talked about data, interpreting data and deriving insights out of it, right? I think, but again, this is something that people have been solving on certain tools and at times on Excel. People have been doing it, right? So there are these internal data points which are available to you as a CFO and let's say your colleague VP Finance, right? How would you see the challenges of implementing it in an existing system? And what would you see those things driving out the threats on the challenges there?
Yeah. So uh, let's look at the AI in two parts. One is that the specific modules which does this, the complete analytics part. That's one part. The second part is that how it's going to help the users to use this analytics report. Today, if I need a particular data points, I have to communicate to the data analytics team. They will go back and write a structured query to extract the data, do some massaging of the data, and come up with output whatever I have asked. Say for an example, I want to know as a CFO. Let's start with the receivable functions. I want to know in last 12 months across all my customers, how many customers, repeat customers, usually pay on time, and how many customers usually pay 10 days delayed from the due date, how many customers usually pay, whether it's a due or not due, you usually pay in the beginning of the month or end of the month, middle of the month, right? The way I expect AI to do it is that the way I said to you, either I will say to the AI tool or I will type it in the AI tool. That should give me the analytics.
Yeah,
That
that would give you the data points, and then you can basically take a decision out of it, or the tool itself could give you a specific decision saying, you prioritize these aspects of it. And in fact, I think I also wanted to come to this little later, but now that we are on this topic, let me jump in there. So I think the whole invoice to pay or invoice to cash, right? I think there are two inwards and outward ways of looking at it. So there are multiple facets of this whole story, right? If you are, let's say, invoicing external parties or you're receiving invoices to make the payments, there are various ingredients to this invoice where there are checks happening across, let's say, PO or the vendor or the partner or the customer, right? There are credentials to be checked, verified, vetted. I think earlier, if the scale was very high, I think this was one of the biggest challenges people had, right? If the invoice is wrong, again it goes back in the cycle and then it needs to be corrected. It adds 2 weeks of delay, and then once they accept it, the payment would happen at a agreed payment cycle date. Now these things can be accelerated by AI, right? Who could process it under a few minutes. How do you see that?
no, it's very well, it's possible. The trick in the implementing AI and using this AI tool is that how you are approaching. I'm again coming back to the same point, right? Today everyone wants to implement the AI, but no one knows where to start. Particularly if take accounts payable function, right? Your procure to pay functions rather, right? The procurement is initiated by the user department. There is a, then the procurement department comes into play, getting RFB, or if it is a already existing vendor, placing the PO, getting the material, doing the GRN, right? Then it comes to finance functions, right? If I think, right, I want to put everything from day one, from user department to my accounting. If I want to put an AI, we won't go anywhere, right? Let's look at what is the easiest thing I can achieve. What is the role of today my accounts payable team, or are the guys who actually accounting the invoice into the ERP system? His role is to look at what is the PO raised, what is the terms of the PO, what is the GR and what is the material received, and what is the invoice I have received. He is simply comparing what's there in the PO, what is there in the GRN report, and what is there in the invoice. If all three matches, I will not ask any question. I will go and account that invoice, and that invoice is ready for payment. If it is not matching, either I have to go to the GRN department or the user department who received the material, or I will go to the department, it's a procurement department who raised the PO, right? In turn, if there is an issue in invoice, they have to go to the vendor to ask that questions. It's you rightly said, it takes a week's time to get a simple answer of saying that there is a quantity difference of 2%. It'll take two weeks to get an answer and address. The way I look at the AI tool here is that where there is an invoice, which is everything is matching, PO, GRN, and invoice, I don't think and I don't believe you need any human touch point at all for booking that invoice. How do you use your AI tool to automate everything, account it? That's the first step. I don't want to stop there. Take next step. There is a discrepancy. What do you do? Right? Today there is a human touch point, right to GRN department, right to purchase department, and then they might in turn write to the vendors to answer. Why can't an AI tool send a direct mail identifying exact discrepancy, asking the vendor, put your responses in a simple English, get the response and process and account that invoice accordingly? How will
Very
you
well
achieve?
said. I think the underlying workflows that can enhance the process is critical, right? Let's say you've identified some errors, you've detected some anomalies there. It could be internal or external. I think that communication, you actually don't need to have a human who would do it, because again, if the scale is high, how many will he process, right? It's going to take
Correct.
much longer. If the tool, the AI agent can automatically detect that this is an anomaly and this is predefined path of workflow, saying this is the gap, right? For example, if the vendor has is supposed to deliver XYZ and the GRN specifies it's missed out, it should go back to the vendor immediately, and he should take a corrective action, and then a revised invoice could be received and then further processed, right? So I think that the key I hear from this conversation from you is that the agent alone is usually not enough. There is an element of a process, and then there is a significant after the process workflow, which could be vetting, and running it through, let's say, the hierarchy of approvals, and then taking corrective actions. And what do you do in case of corner cases, right?
Correct.
Where human can be repurposed, I would rather say, right? Like wherever, I think there will be some touch of humans, but I believe where the payments are involved, where the transactions could be above a cutoff, I think it would run through agent workflows, and then possibly a checkpoint, a gate by human on certain critical things, right?
Correct. Correct.
Awesome. So, if we, I mean, I'm going to just go to a little different tangent right now. See, earlier the purchase of the tools, right? Let's say you had to procure, let's say for your procurement, right? Like supplier identification or all this processing, there was a tool that you had to procure. Earlier, the cycle itself was very different, right? I think I'm sure a lot of leaders of finance were looking up to you to hear how has that changed with the whole agents coming into picture. What is the new structure look like? What would your recommendation be?
So I think particularly on the vendor selection and the vendor onboarding process, right? We can use AI agents a lot more, and speed up the whole process in that, including even I'll take a step ahead of including contract negotiations, right? There are CLM tools which CLM tool developers, they are bringing in AI modules into it, not just only preparing the contract, but also doing the first level of negotiations, the first level of what we call it as a redlining process. We can use that will speed up process significantly. The biggest difference, between the structured tools so far we have used versus the AI is that the you can process the data points in a very very natural language. That's the biggest difference between the tools what we so far we have used. Earlier I also used for vendor onboarding, saying that yeah, this is a vendor portal, I'll send the link, you log in everything, you put everything, I can use OCR to read your GSTN information, or I can connect a GSTN portal to extract your PAN validity, GSTN validity. I can do everything, right? But it's done in a very very structured manner, right? What AI comes and plays is that it removes that structure part, right? You communicate in a very very natural language, and also you can communicate in a local language, not only just in English, right? People are developing modules which can operate in a local language. Just to give you, irrelevant to the finance, but I can tell you how AI is, how powerful it is. I watched one video. I don't want to name the company. A tile manufacturing company. They built a AI enabled visualization tool, right? That person, he tells the tool in his local mother tongue, saying that which tile to be selected, how many tiles, which are the tile combinations he wants in his bathroom. He just says to the, like how we are speaking, he is speaking to the computer. It's like a magic. It's, you are seeing a visualization in front of you. That's the power of AI, right? You can you understand that how much that changes the whole process.
Yeah, no, no, I totally hear you, and I love the way you put it. The adoption and the use of AI, not only for who is implementing, but also the partners who are involved in the whole process, right? It
Exactly.
simplifies. I think that's a beauty of it. And as you mentioned, obviously there have been portals, right? Like vendor used to submit everything. People used to take those documents, apply it further. So all those things possibly are no more required, right? I think it could just be, hey, there is a chatbot that you have, please submit his data points, and the agent would validate also. Because I remember seeing, when I chatted with one of the finance leaders earlier, he also said that sometimes the GSTs are not accurate, the entity is not correct, and somebody had to manually vet it, and it was the hardest challenge if you're again processing at a significant scale. Now imagine the agent actually goes to GST portal and vets, right? Is it the vendor who's right as per the GST and the registration? Is he the one who is mentioned as per PO? I think all these things can be
Not
done
only
through an
that,
interface.
yeah. No, so the other important point, where you touched the right point, and it's a very, very painful point every CFOs, every finance leader going through in India, particularly on the GST side. It's not only, validating his GST and registration number, or the vendor's GST and registration number, right or valid at the time of onboarding. You have to validate that pretty much on real time basis every time when you are accounting an invoice, right? If you are accounting a 1 lakh 100,000 invoice in a month, say from 10,000 vendors, it's humanly impossible to go and validate that GSTN on a real time basis. Is this GSTN at the time of booking my GST invoice is a valid? What if the GST number is blocked or his registration got cancelled? I will lose the entire input credit of that particular invoice. Then the system should tell me, hey, here, this invoice GSTN is blocked. So hold his GST amount. Don't pay the GST amount to him. So you can prevent the financial loss or a cash flow issues then and there on the real time basis. If you ask me to humanly do it, it's impossible. If you can do it in AI tool, yes, of course you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, right? I think it directly helps you to analyze these points real time basis without having to depend on manual verification and vetting of all these data points. And obviously, the time taken to do all these things is also critical, right? If you can always deploy an army of people who would do it, and it would take weeks for you. And again, there could be just the corner cases. Let's say there are 5 invoices or 5 vendors where there is an issue. You end up scrutinizing maybe 5,000 others who are genuinely following everything accurately, right? So they would get penalized because the process takes itself a new time. Come circling back on this question, right? On the way the evaluation of tools, right? I'm sure you would have an influx of many people who would want to talk to you saying, hey, take my tool. So how do you see evaluation of AI tools in today's world? How has it changed from the way you used to evaluate earlier?
Yeah, so the AI is a completely a new platform today, right? There is no precedence earlier. Like if you want to evaluate a ERP systems, you had a decades of experience. People would have done it. You have a people to pick your phone, call them, hey, tell me the ERP A is good or ERP B is good or ERP C is good, right? Today, for particularly for the early adopters for AI, you don't have any precedence. You don't have any existing knowledge available about that particular tool. So which means that you will end up doing a proof of concepts. The challenge on the proof of concepts is that saying that what is that you are selecting as a proof of concept, right? If you want to evaluate a standalone tool, all tool works fine, everyone will give you the wow factor, right? But the real trick is that how efficient this tool can get integrated with your existing system. Can you do a one POC for that? If you are if you make sure that that is working well, you will get the full confidence of saying that yeah, this is working. Right now it is all in our hands to make sure that how do I implement properly. That's the one. You are right, I get at least in a week 50 emails about finance AI tools available to evaluate, right? If I ended up spending that, then the whole my time will go on only just evaluating the tool. uh, that's where the prioritization of where you want to put the AI first. Forget about the tool is available, not available, 10 people have reached out to you or not. You decide where I want to put the AI first. Then, if you are clear on that, then you are able to filter out the so many tools available in the market. Then you will focus to a particular set of tools. That's where then that's the first point, right? Then get into that. If it is a 4 or 5 providers are available, evaluate them. Of course, there is no choice. We need to figure out, is there any other AI tool is available to evaluate the AI tools. It might come up some point in
Great
time.
way to put it. I love that. I'm sure somebody out there should build that, right? How do you make it easy to evaluate other tools? So, right.
Exactly.
But good perspective. I love the way you put it, Ishwar. I think it has to integrate seamlessly in a existing system, and it has to coexist. That's a great way to put it. But I think from the decision making perspective, right? Has it trickled down? Because when I spoke to other CXOs, what they said is, hey, now obviously earlier the IT teams would get involved, the two would get into complex decision making committee, everybody would come together and longer cycles. Usually it would get defined at a, let's say, financial year start. So there would be a period when they would take a decision, right? But now, because there is such a strong evolution happening dynamically, right? The tools are evolving quickly. You can continue to purchase tools throughout the whole year. So possibly, how are you thinking about this decision structure? Let's say budgeting. Are you open for more budgets? Is there innovation budget that people think about, or would you recommend? How do you see this?
I think there is a, I would say that, there is a difference between a good company and the great company, right? So what is good company? They are doing a good business. They are adopting whatever it is coming in the market. The good companies are not the early adopters, right? Great companies are early adopters on the change. If they see that change is imminent and it's going to change the way you do business, they do adopt early. Those companies, if you look at the budgets, people will keep as a separate allocation as a innovation budget, right? Not only in the finance functions, for even including in the business side, right? They will keep some money allocated, saying that try it out and fail fast approach, right? This money is available for you. If you want to try some new thing, use this budget, try it and fail fast. Don't drag that process for a longer time. In that you will also lose money and also you lose time, effort, everything, right? So particularly for AI, the companies who can allocate some funding as an innovation fund, they should use that to test it out. This tools. I don't say that every AI tool will going to add value, but you have to find out which are the tools going to add value to your business, and do it right. Then there are, you can also decide, I will sit on the fence for some more time, let's see how others are doing. I will do it later. Yeah, you can also do that, but you will not be part of that great companies. You will be a average good companies. That's how I put it. Can't, Prashant, I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry, I went on a mute. I was just saying what a great statement to have. I think, as you said, the great companies are adopters of a change, and if you want to be ahead of the curve, on the innovation with respect to your competition or with respect to the technology advancement itself happening, like if you're not adopting it today, you are going to be losing out because you're going to be slower. You're going to be, possibly adding up to more challenges in itself because maybe the next wave of the whole LLMs are going to be very different, right? I think they themselves are undergoing evolution. The tools
Yes,
are also advancing at a very rapid pace. So you better you adopt it early and then you keep innovating. Your incremental cost of innovation could be a lot lower, right? So
correct.
great perspective, Ishwar. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to ask you one final question. I know you've taken 30 minutes of your time, but a quick word of advice for all other budding leaders in finance and CFOs who are looking up to you to hear. What would you say to them? Let's say three pieces of advice on the AI transformation.
I wouldn't say it as an advice, but I would put it as a suggestions. Right? I don't think I am in that situation to advise somebody, but I'd say suggestions. That first and foremost thing is that finance function is not a function works in silos anymore. Right? It's last 10-15 years itself it changed, and in current today's world it is not in silos. The first and foremost thing for you to improve a finance function is that how glued into your business. For have a business perspective. Very important for a finance leaders. That will give you, that will help you to prioritize. Right? We want to do everything, but unfortunately the reality is that you can't do everything in a at a in a single point in time. Right? You can do it in an incremental basis. So having a business perspective help you to prioritize where I want to invest my time, money, effort, etc. That's what I would say. Of course, uh, some of the investments, while traditional way of evaluating investment is saying that if I do this, what is in it for me immediately? That's typically you will get into the cost benefit analysis. Tools like this or technologies or innovations like AI, it's sometimes it's a little bit difficult to put it into that the traditional investment evaluation framework. So we may need to come out of that framework. It is very uncomfortable for us, particularly as a finance leaders, unless otherwise I see an Excel sheet, unless otherwise see an 5-page business case, and somebody is coming and telling me that okay, today I am spending X amount, tomorrow I will spend only Y amount, I am going to save Z amount. It's very difficult for finance guys to sign off that. Right? I think in the current scenario, the fast changing world, we may need to come out from that framework little bit. I'm not saying that you completely come out, don't even look at the cost benefit analysis. Don't look at the cost benefit analysis at a short term one. Look at the long term horizon. What is it going to give you as a benefit? That's one of the piece of suggestion I would tell the finance members.
Oh, that's great to hear. I think obviously finance leaders often look at ruthlessly in terms of the numbers, what is in it and how can quickly we see the ROI, right? But the way you put it, I mean, a disrupting innovation like AI needs to be judged with a different lenses. So thank you so much. It's great to have you. I'm going to come back to the question that we started off our conversation with, getting back to your suggestion and the perspective of how you see the AI world as a metamorphical change, right? So, how do you see this metamorphical change getting integrated in the systems that exist today? How easy can it get? How would you see this evolution happening in few years than from last few decades?
It will disrupt. There is no doubt about it. I think the entire world is talking about AI today. Anyone who has start with any conversation starts with AI only today. It will change, but the success of that implementation of integrating AI tools into your day-to-day operations uh, still lies with the people who is going to do that. Right, while AI can reduce the human intervention, but to put an AI in the right place at the right time with the right investment, still you need the people who is doing it, who is adopting it, and who is enabling it to do that. So a mindset change definitely required in the organization to adopt the tools. Um, Another important point: people fear of losing jobs. Uh, we should not, to be frank. You look at it when we were. This is my famous example. I'll give it to the people saying that new technology will you will start losing your job. Technology will not take your job, but the guy who knows the technology will take your job. Right? That's how it is. Take very simple example. People who have like 20 years 30 years back, typewriting is an important thing. If you know typewriting, right, you will get a job as a stenographer, some job, right? Computer came. Computer has not replaced the typewriter's job, right? The guy who knows how to operate the computer replaced the typewriter's job, right? Exactly what's going to happen in AI also, right? AI is not going to replace your job. The guy who knows AI, how to use that AI in effective manner, will replace your job. It applies for not only just a finance function team members, it applies for across all the teams.
Well said. I think I totally agree, and great that you kind of touched upon saying this is something which is applicable across functions. So I think it's a great piece of advice for everyone that people need to upskill. It starts from bottom or top, both ways. Everybody, right? Everything. I keep hearing the top CEOs in the world are now vibe coding. They are getting their hands dirty, building agents. Trying to see how they can make productivity as a core focus area in terms of whatever the function that they can. Everybody is getting their hands dirty, and I think your insights have been very meaningful, with hands-on learning from your organization and implementation. Thank you so much, Ishwar. Great to have you here on our webinar series. Thank you.
Thanks, Prashant. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. We're going to go off now, but again, I want to take a opportunity to thank everybody who's been listening to us patiently. Some of you sent comments on LinkedIn. Some of you texted some questions. I hope those were addressed. If not, I'm going to relay those questions to Ishwar, who can get back to us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Have a great evening ahead, Ishwar. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.